When browsing Steam, you come across an unlimited amount of indie games. A ton of them being in a pixel-oriented style, and Hyper Light Drifter seems like just another one of those. You know, one of those I'll buy them and maybe I'll play them for an hour or two games. After looking at some of the store's screenshots, you will soon realize that this colorful yet dark piece of art looks astonishingly beautiful. 1 or 2 hours passed and my opinion about the game seemed to be written in stone. Great art style, fast fights and a world worth exploring. I really wish that would be it. It's a great game, go get it. But unfortunately it's not as easy and I'll tell you why. First up, yes, the game is beautiful and it somewhat lives from it. Progressing through the world feels like exploring a pixel art gallery. Every screen could be a new desktop background and every design has its own place. Another big part of the aesthetics is that the world has a certain touch, a specific theme to it. Something you could compare to the feeling you get playing a Souls game. Even though it is full of bright colors, the main tint stays dim and a bit depressing, and that is great. Many games present appealing visuals, but only a few carry over a feeling. The world is separated into 5 major parts: North, East, South and West Zone plus a central city. Each one of them has a focus on a specific design element. North Zone, for example, is a big mountain with bird enemies, while East Zone is a lake area. All of them feel fresh and new upon entering, and that brings me to one of my major complaints about the game. Yes, having a beautiful world plays a big part on keeping you playing, but as important is how you continue through it. There is a reason that many AAA titles are somewhat linear, and that is normally considered as something bad, but in the case of Hyper Light Drifter, it would have improved the game experience a lot in my opinion. Let me explain it a little bit more detailed. To progress through the game you have to find certain key objects in each of the world segments to open up doors and reach the bosses. The paths to said objects are often well hidden and are mostly found by revisiting places all over again. You have to be extremely attentive to find them first try, and a lot of paths split in different directions, making it even harder to keep track of where you have been and where to go. The map doesn't help you as well, since it only shows directions you can go as line paths, as well as rough areas where objects can be hidden. I've spent so much time backtracking and searching that I almost lost interest in looking at the game, which is really sad. In my opinion, they should have made it a little bit clearer how to progress, a bit more linear, so you don't spend an hour looking for the last key you need. Well-hidden paths and secrets are great and interesting, but they should reward you with upgrades and game lore rather than making it a must-find. As a game that relies completely on the fight mechanics when it comes to actually doing something in the game rather than sitting around and looking at the sky, it has to do a great job in that regard. Otherwise it's just a pretty shell without a substance. In the first few hours playing the game, it felt on one hand fast and rewarding, and on the other hand unpolished, sometimes even counterintuitive. You have 2 kinds of attacks, a primary sword attack and a secondary gunshot. Hitting something or someone with your sword recharges your bullets, which is a phenomenal mechanic. Together with the fast dodging, it makes up a fast and fun fight experience. Yet there are some aspects that feel off. It's mostly the dodging that sometimes feel unrewarding. Iframes, so the time you can't be hit while dodging, are pretty much non-existing without any upgrades, which makes you jump into all sorts of death threats. Coming from a Souls background, I'm used to jump through attacks instead of around them. New game, new mechanics you might say, but dodging around bullets or sword swings can make the game really confusing. You often end up somewhere on the battlefield instead of next to the enemy you tried to defeat. Another point I usually won't mind as much are the 30 FPS the game runs on. This is something a fast-paced game like Hyper Light Drifter should have completely avoided out of common sense. The game requires fast inputs to stay away from respawning every few seconds, and having 30 FPS increases input lag as well as making the game feel less fluid. For me it was just not enough to be considered as a great combat mechanic, even though I would have loved to like it, because the general ideas are awesome. Of course it makes fun, but after a time the little things will come more and more into count. There is still a lot to be said about the combat, but I will only address one more point, and that's the difficulty level. Is the game hard, you might ask? Yes, but not too much and pretty much only in the beginning. You will die a lot in combat, especially in the first few hours, but it doesn't really get any harder after that. There is not such thing as real scaling to the enemies. Everyone is able to progress through the fights without spending hours and hours on killing that one floor. There are checkpoints every few minutes and enough health packs to keep you away from being frustrated. Some of the bosses may take a few tries, but they are mostly fun to fight and have their own mechanics to defeat. Encounter, die, learn and succeed. I would definitely recommend the game, and if the combat would be a little bit better rounded or the game world a bit more structured, then I would also say it's worth the $20. Everyone who is interested in games like this and doesn't mind spending the money on a beautiful game that they will probably never finish should get it right away. There is still a possibility to refund it if it doesn't fulfill all your expectations. For everyone else, I would recommend putting it on your wishlist and buying it when it drops in price. About 10 to 15 euros or dollars would be great to get the perfect bang for your bucks. If you have enjoyed the video and want to see more gaming related content, then consider visiting us on Twitch. We are streaming all sorts of different games 4 days a week and we would love to see you there. Our schedule can be found on our Twitch page and the link is in the description. Any other updates will be posted on Facebook. I hope you will enjoy it and have a nice day.